Welcome to Real Human Design Stories, where guests share their powerful personal stories of transformation through human design. I'm Kathy Bashanko, an intuitive human design mentor and guide to radical self-trust. Join us as we explore how your human design experiment can truly change your life. Hi there. Today I'm doing a solo episode. For those of you who have been listening to the podcast for a bit, you might know that I normally have somebody here to interview. I did one other one where I told a lot of my human design story. So if you're interested in that, you can find that at episode number 33. And I believe it's called Embracing Authenticity. But today I want to talk about two things. And those two things are R&R. And I'm not going to talk about recreation, which is traditionally the second R in R&R. I'm going to talk about rest and recognition. This might sound like I'm only talking to projectors here. And projectors, listen up, I think this will definitely resonate with some of you heavily. But I think a lot of people will resonate with what I'm talking about. So as a projector, we always talk about wait for the recognition and the invitation, right? And recognition is super important. And one of the things, though, that I've realized is when I do something for recognition, that's icky, right? So if I'm doing a podcast and I'm thinking, ooh, I'm going to talk about this because then people are going to really like me and they're going to want to work with me and they're going to think my podcast is great. That's seeking recognition, and that's not the same as waiting for it to happen naturally. Sometimes we have this need to take some downtime that we don't honor because we feel like we're going to lose that recognition or people are going to think less of us. And it gets in the way of the inner authority. A lot of times, the true inner authority in human design is listening to your body. That's all. The whole purpose of it is to connect back into your body and know what it wants of you, what it's saying. If you feel the call to rest and you feel your mind telling you, but what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Sometimes you have to listen to some of those things. I get it, right? We do live in this 3D world. We do have to pay the bills and, do the things. We think we have to do things that we don't really have to do. And what I've been experiencing the last couple of weeks is this deep call in my body to just chill out. It's been really interesting to observe myself this past, it's been about 5 days since I found out that my podcast guest for this week was going to need to reschedule. And I was waiting for some clarity on what I wanted to do. And the pressure I felt to stay with doing a podcast, to keep my algorithms in check, right? Because if people are used to you doing one every other week and then you don't show up, then people forget about you. I was feeling this pressure to have an answer, to know what I wanted to do. And there was a part of me that has been wanting to come on and just talk about some stuff that I want to talk about. Because I'm Chatty Cathy, right? I like to talk. I want to talk about the things that matter to me. When I have a guest on, it's really about their story. And sure, I share my insights and thoughts or whatever, but it's not the same. And so I wanted to have some time to come on and share some stuff with you guys. But I kept feeling like everything I was thinking of doing was coming from a place that didn't feel right. I don't know how to really give it words other than to say it felt icky. It felt like I was creating things to talk about, which, I don't have a problem talking, but talking about something just to have something to talk about, or talking about something because it seems like it would be good for business, right? That all feels unaligned. So I wanted to talk about rest because that's been a huge thing that I've been experiencing. And I find that when I share from my experience, then, it'll find the people who are going through similar things that maybe I'm going through or have gone through. There's a lot of talk about burnout, people just of all types. It's not just a projector thing. So this whole conversation is coming from a projector, so it will have projector references, but everyone can burn out. And I don't want to say that I was having burnout. I'm going to back up a little bit. I had a really fantastic September. I'm recording this on November 10th, and I had probably one of the best months in my life in September. I went to 2 amazing human design events and spent time with people who are deep in their experiments. And it was just such a beautiful experience to spend that time with people who understand that we're all here on our own journey. There was never any pressure to do or be anything other than who I was in the moment. And it was almost like when I came back, I'm going to back up again. I do this a lot. Sorry, bear with me. This is just how my brain works. So I went to the Human Design Conference in Colorado Springs where I presented, and I gave a talk about navigating uncertainty through radical self-trust. And it was so much fun. And I brought in elements of fun. There's a lot of storytelling in human design. And I took it a step further. And instead of just telling a better story, I wrote a better song. I used AI. I'm not going to kid you. I'm no songwriter. I wrote a song and created it with AI called Chatty Cathy in the Groove. And it was a disco song, is a disco song. Maybe I'll put a bit in at the outro here. I don't know. We'll see. And, but that was really fun. It was really fun. I told the story of how I had embraced my groove again. All the things that when we're growing up, we're told are too much. And then all the things that we're told are not enough. And so we change and we do all these things to try to make people happy. So I really told that story. And I thought about doing that for this podcast, but the energy wasn't there for it right now because I'm in this place of deep rest. And that's a more energetic conversation. And if there's interest, I'll possibly share it in a future podcast. It was a beautiful experience with beautiful people. And then I left Colorado and went to the High Desert Human Design Conference in Santa Fe. Hey, just popping in for a quick sec. I know we're deep in conversation, but if you're feeling called to dive deeper into your human design experiment, I'm here to guide you. Whether it's a personalized reading or one-on-one mentorship, let's explore the next steps towards radical self-trust together. Visit kathybashanko.com to learn more. All right, back to the conversation. There's so much more to explore. And went to the High Desert Human Design Conference in Santa Fe. And that was a very different kind of experience and really just intensely immersive. It was very bohemian in style. We all stayed in our own little places, but we'd come together in multiple venues. So there were different places you could go for different events. You could do Qigong under a tree. You could do wine tasting at such and such a place. We did all kinds of things, including deconditioning dance party, right? That was fun. It was all wonderful, and I just felt so immersed in love for over 2 weeks between these two events that when I came home, there was this almost re-entry type of decompression. I don't even know how to describe it, but it was like a malaise that kind of came over me trying to live in the real world again, right? And so then I was super excited about all the things I'd learned, and I started trying to do all the things and started getting really into what I can do for my business and create this report and start this new project. And I have this fun new thing I want to do. And I was starting to try to create that. And I had every intention of coming home from that and launching this new style edit concept that I'm working on about helping people to really find the true expression of who they are in a physical way so that people are not feeling like they are not showing up on the outside, like the person they are on the inside. But that's another, again, part of another conversation. And I am going to do that. But I started to do that big time and started doing all these things and still had all this stuff to integrate from all this time I spent in September. And the leaves are falling. Here in Georgia, it is definitely now in November, deep autumn. But in October, I started just feeling this way in my body that was saying, slow down, slow down. And I couldn't deny it. So despite all these great intentions to do all these things, I was having days where I couldn't even get out of bed. And in the past, I think I would have thought, oh my God, I'm depressed. But that's one of the beautiful things about human design is I've been able to understand what melancholy is about. And melancholy is not depression. Melancholy is, and this deep feeling in my body is calling me to go inward, right? And to just be with myself on a second line. Do what I love naturally. Get out of my head. I did all these wonderful things. There was so much walking and time in nature. And then I came home and I got in my head about it all, trying to do all the things with it. And my body was just like, no, remember me? Remember me? And yet there's that nagging feeling of, I have to do the things. I have to stay present. Social media teaches us all these things. Like I have a Facebook group, right? If I don't keep doing all kinds of things in there, what's going to happen to my algorithms? Where's everybody going to go if I'm not actively engaged in every conversation and every post in there? And that's tricky because there is a little bit of truth to that. But if you have been listening to me for any length of time, you know that I have been on this big campaign of radical self-trust. Everything is happening for us, even when it sucks. And I don't want to say anything's really sucked for me, but that knowledge of even if it sucks allows me to not get in the fear mode. And that's really helped me to deal with the fear about if I let myself rest, then the recognition will go away. What I ask you is, are you listening to your body? Is there a fear that keeps you from honoring what you know in the core of who you are is what you need to do? Or I shouldn't even say need, what you want to do. Sometimes it's this nagging feeling in your head that's telling you, oh, you can't do this. It's nagging you. Don't do that, or you should do this. But sometimes it's just your body wanting to do something that you think is silly, right? And I just want to say that you can be all kinds of different things. You can be the person who stood at the Human Design Conference and danced in front of everybody, not knowing if anyone would dance with me. And you can also be the person who's just so tired you don't want to do anything. It's okay. And this is going to be a record for me because it's going to be a short podcast. I probably should have said that at the beginning. But I just want to end with a little bit more about the idea of uncertainty, because I think we're really in a very uncertain time right now. This is going out right around the time of the US election. That was last week. A lot of people are feeling very uncertain right now with everything that's going on. and could use some radical self-trust, right? And I want to say radical self-trust is never about being certain. It's about knowing that you have what you need inside, and no one can take that away, right? Just started hearing Whitney in my head. Can't take that away from me because, the greatest love, that whole part, right? You get it. You get the Whitney joke. Anyway, so the point I'm making again is if you don't have certainty, you have potential for all sorts of surprises. Sure, some of them can be scary, but when you know that everything is happening for you, even when it sucks in the moment, you can hold on to that radical self-trust and be okay and know that maybe I'm gonna stop myself again because I feel like I could easily be misunderstood in the things I've been saying. Because right now there is all this tension out there, and I don't want to try to minimize the fear anybody is having about just not knowing what's going to happen to our systems, right? In human design, we've known for a while that systems are going to break down. What that's going to look like or how that's going to happen, we don't know. So I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a thing. And just trust yourself. Follow your inner authority. And if you're not comfortable with how to do that, I'd love to help you. That's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. So I think we might want to dance. Do you want to hear my song? No, maybe I'll save it next time, when I tell you the whole story of how Chatty Cathy lost her groove and found it again through radical self-trust. Peace out. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Real Human Design Stories. I hope these stories help you see how human design can reframe not only your own story, but also the stories you tell yourself about your relationships. If you're ready to tell a more empowered story about who you came here to be, I invite you to explore ways to work with me directly at kathybashanko.com. Supporting this podcast is easy. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star rating, like, comment, and share with your friends. This helps the podcast grow the most. You can also become a contributing sponsor for as little as 99 cents a month. Details are available at realhumandesignstories.com. Thanks again for being here. Real Human Design Stories is created and hosted by me, Kathy Bashanko, and produced by Number 3 Productions. Peace out, everybody.